Welcome to Basket Weaving 101. This is our 1 quart square berry picking basket. The first thing we need to do is find the centers of our reeds. So I'm going to do just a gentle fold and a mark on one. And then line it up with the others that have been wet. Put in warm water for 10 to 20 minutes and mark the sides. We are weaving the 1 quart berry picking basket. It's a beginning base basket. It's a square to round basket. And there's a good side and a bad side to materials. If you bend them in this direction, you might find hairy things, and the other side is smooth. Sometimes there is no good or bad side. They're both good. Well, we found the bad side goes up, so it'll be inside your basket, and we're going to lay it on spot number 1. Then we have, I'm using my thumb to find the good side and the bad side. There's spot number 2. And you notice I'm watching the length out here. Number 3. Mark is in the center here. And 4. Now we have woven our first base. Then what we look at is what we want to go under. This is going to be number 5. We went over. Now we're going to go under and under. Left hand stays here and holds everything in place. Right hand slides it down and cover the template completely. That was 5. Number 6. Out here, slide it into place. Number 7. This side, lift up what I want to go behind, holding my base in place. Lift up number 8 and 9 and 10. Under, under. So you want to exactly cover this template to start your basket. After you've made a few, you won't need a template. The things you're paying attention to is the center, that your basket has the same distance on each side, so that would be again the center, and that your holes are the same size. If you have a piece shaped like this, your basket's going to be shaped exactly like this, because this is the base of your basket. Now we're going to upset the spokes. We're going to bend this and crease. Bend and crease. Each one all the way around. They won't crack. If they're upside down, they might have a little crack in them, but I break about 2 a year. So the odds of breaking these are not good, especially if they're wet. And no one can weave a dry basket. So we've started. I choose number 3 to split. It's an under. It's just a good way to start your basket. So I'm going to split number 3. So we have an odd number of pieces. So we've split this piece. We're going to put it here at the top. Grab 1 piece of weaver. That would be your 1/4 inch flat. Grab the best piece you can find. Not too stiff. Stiff is the hardest part on row 1. So this needs a taper. I'm going to have the bad side up, the rougher side up, so it's inside. To taper this just a little short bit. See that? And start by tucking it right here. I went under, over, under. Tuck it in here, and if you need to, and it's probably good that when you begin you do this, put a clothespin on it. Now stand this piece up because you're trying to make your basket go up. Stand this up, go behind. I want to go behind that one. Go around the corner, over, under. Now a clothespin's in order, or you don't have to, but it helps. Keep your work close to the edge of your basket and go under, under, over. See, I stood this one up. It's important to stand up your corners. The others are going to flop a little bit till the 3rd row. Now don't go around your corners or leave it loose like this. I'm pulling this right in so I can keep it close to the base, close to the bottom. Now I need to get this pin out of the way, but I'm holding it all with my left hand. Let's slide this over so you can see. I'm holding things in place with my left hand. That's my marker, place marker. Now I treated these 2 separately. They're 2 separate pieces. If I had only had one, I would be going under and over the same one every time. So I needed to go under and over, and I needed an odd number for that. We're standing up the ones we didn't get the last time. See here, we've gone behind this one and it's standing up. Now we're going behind this one. So this row brings all of them up. Baskets never look good in the first 3 rows. It just doesn't happen. So don't worry too much. Just get your corners good. Pull your corners so they're not too loose or too tight. Go around to the 3rd row, and after the 3rd row, it looks good. Every basket all holds together after that 3rd row is done. Also, after the 3rd row, I like to pick the basket up and either weave it in my lap with the bottom facing me or weave it on the table. Either one will do. I'm a lap weaver, I find it's easier, and I also weave a lot of large baskets, but you can also weave it this way. Well, see, I have spaces, it's gonna happen, but we can fix it. Push up on this piece, and we can pull, get that down, go around the corner. I use this finger here to make an opening. I want this to get a little bit bigger so my basket's easier to weave. It's going to be a square to round. So keep that open a little bit. What I'm doing on each row is just adjusting the row before, pushing it down here, poking it up, whatever it takes to make a nice shape. If you've pushed down too far, your basket will pitch in, be tight and hard to work with. So if you've pushed in, pull it back out gently, weave a little looser around that corner. This basket has 13 or 14 rows on it. What I'm going to do is add some color, but I want to get away from the bottom and not too close to the top before I do that. So I'm going to weave, say, 5 or 6 rows. Most problems will happen at this area because this is skinny and it can get out of hand, and you never do an overlap or anything right here. This is your problem point, so you don't do anything besides weave right through and keep it straight. Straighten those up so they're nice and parallel. If your pieces are parallel, you can see what your basket is looking like. Oh, we don't want this on a corner. We're going to go back and snip that off. We're going to add a piece. Adding a piece is the same every time. You don't need to taper as you did in the beginning. You go back 1, 2, 3, 4 and hide it. You don't have to go back 4. You could go back 2, but 4 is a safer bet. Back here, hide it. You've cut this one off and you won't see these ends inside or out. Now I do everything, all of my changes at the split, because I consider that the back of the basket that already has something different about it. So when I add color, I want to do it on the side with a split. Before I add color, which can run, especially if it's wet, I try to weave as dry as possible. If you want to just dampen it and then wipe it with the towel, that's a good thing. But I want to go around here and, oops, I had some pieces that lifted up. Let's pull them down. Or put my thumb here and pull, pull, pull. This creates feet. The corners will be lower than the center and it'll sit nicely. So we're going to foot your basket first. Really tight here, less and less on these sides so that center comes up. It's important to keep your pieces parallel, not pitching forward. If they pitch forward, you're doing too tight. If they flop around out here, you're doing it too loose. So we have our 4 points that are lower. And we've pulled our feet, and now we're going to weave. And again, we add the piece like we did before. We're only going to do 2 here because it's at the split and it gets a little thick. This is drier than the other because it's likely to run. If it does run, just use a little bit of Clorox on the white part where it has run, and that capillary action should take care of it. So you have a nice pattern going. I'm going to do a chain pattern on these. I've given you enough to do 3 times around. You could do a color, 2 light ones, another color, and 2 light ones. Just do any pattern you like. This is always going to have a little bit of where you start and stop because you come all the way around and then you start your next row. You're always going to have this little bit. See how this is pushed in? Ooh, not a good idea. I'm going to pull that back out and use a clothespin to hold it where I want it, just till I get back. Now you have a popsicle included in your kit, or if you have a popsicle or a tool included in your kit, you're going to want to use it to pull these down, or you can use it, a small screwdriver. Now it's time to go back to our natural bead. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 rows. We need a few more. If you wove any higher on your color, it's going to end up under the rim and you'll lose the pattern. So that we don't want to do. Okay, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. We're going to do another row. This will be our last row. We're making sure everything looks good as we come around here, and I'm going to have to add one more little bit. This basket, you can see I've given you materials to make a much taller basket, and you're welcome to do that. This is just the quart berry size. So at the bottom here we tapered, and the top, if we cut it off, it's going to be blunt. It's not going to be a nice gradual top. So we're going to start here, and we have 3/4 down here, and we're going to have a 1/4 up here, and a 1/2 inch down here, a 1/2 a piece here, 1/2 a piece here. And we're going to do that by tapering again. Taper, taper, taper. There you go. And this will give your top a nice clean edge. Now you can see where we started here and ended up over here. They're never going to line up, so don't try. Okay, here's our popsicle stick. And I like to take a little bit off the edge just to make a little pointy. And I have a gap here and I don't want that, so I'm going to use the stick to pull these down. Now our basket, whoops, it's rocking. Push down on the high points, or go back here and pull these up a bit. We'll make this thing stop rocking. See that? No rock. Now these are very long to be tucking inside, so I am going to cut them off a bit. Just give it a little trim so I don't have to tuck these all far. You could actually cut your pieces more to a 14.5 and a 15. I did 16. There you go. So the trick is to bend this over and tuck it inside. Now the tuck, I'm going to snip these ones off. We don't need them so you can see what I'm tucking. Right here we have a tuck. There's a couple of ways to do this. I'm going to push this one down and do a new one for you. Now I personally, always bend it over so you get a nice burnt bend. I push in here with my fingernail and it makes an opening on the inside, and I curl it down in here and down underneath that red one, and I'm pushing from the underside. The other way to do this is to put your popsicle stick or tool, screwdriver, whatever you have, in here, bend it and turn it. Bend this over to get your crease, lift the popsicle stick so it makes the opening, and pop it right in there. This is a little hard on your hands, it's tiring, but it's worth it. It holds your basket all together. So bend over all the ones you can. You're going to either have 2 that get bent over or 2 that are cut off, because you have an odd number. See, we have a bent and a bent. I'm going to bend that one, and I'm going to pop around to get these all done for you. Here we have this little skinny one. Sometimes it's hard to tuck, so I cut it off. Hold your basket by the base. Put your hand inside so that your blade will fit as tight as possible to the edge. And all the ones you didn't bend over are cut off. If you don't hold your scissors like that, and you try to do it this way, see, you have a gap. You have this wide place because your scissors get in the way. So we go inside and do it this way. And the closer you cut to the throat of your scissors, the better cut you'll get. So there we have the base. First base, you see we have the feet, 4 feet. Sits nicely. It doesn't, you can always do that. We have our rim packet, handles and rims. The rim is a flat oval reed. I want to gently bend it into a U shape with the bottom part down because it gets a better grip on the basket. Now I consider this the back. So this is the side, and you can see we started with a square. We now have a round. So we're going to use a tool, do whatever we have to. Poke this down inside, just like we did our bends. It doesn't want to go, giving me a hard time. I will go in here, put that in there, get down inside. There we go. Wiggle. Wiggle works. Bring it over gently, no creasing. Put it down in here. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. There we are. And the rim pieces are already cut. This is a 1/2 inch. Now if you have a choice of materials, a stiff rim on the inside does the best job. I want to cover only the top row, and this is a 1/4 inch, and my rim is a 1/2 inch flat. So covering just the top row, I want to raise it up, pin tight to the edge, very close to the edge, don't get out here. Now I want to overlap 2 or 3 inches because if you butt them up, you're apt to get a pointy part. It's kind of an egg-shaped rim, which is terribly unattractive. And I'm going back and use this last pin because I didn't pull tight enough. To make a neat-looking rim, I like to use a round reed up on the top here. Set it right there, put your outside rim on, and then you have a very neat space in between. Isn't that polished looking? Okay. And pin, pin, pin. Again, only covering the top row. And I started my inside rim on the front across from the split because I consider the split the messy place, the back of the basket. Can't overlap this and there, so we're going to make it butt right up. Match. And there's our rim. We're going to trim it right there and get our lacer. A lacer is the best piece material you have. Smooth, not too stiff, because you're going to drag it through these holes, so it gets a little bit of abuse. Put the bad side down, put it inside your basket, just like we did all the other things we tucked in there. See, it's a nice little tuck inside the basket. Wrap the piece around your basket 3 times. If it'll go 3 times, then it's going to be plenty long enough. With 25 feet long, you'd be too much stuff. So let's just wrap it that 3 times. What we're going to do is we've poked it inside, we have the bad side down, and under each of these rows, and if you need to make an opening, we're going to feed our lacer. This is now a lacer. And bring it around and pull. Don't pull too hard, you'll pull it out, but push it with this hand, pull with that one. And next, I like to park it in this spot so I don't lose the top and bottom. You don't have to, it just takes a little longer. I'll pull, 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 and tight. Nice and tight. And if they slip on you, put a pin on it. The handles were traditionally notched. We're going to put a dab of glue on ours, so you don't have to use a knife, but a handle was notched, but it would wiggle. So we're going to make an X. Go in the first hole, just like we had been weaving, right there. And go in front of the handle, and it holds the handle on this side. But if we go back and make an X, it'll hold the handle on both sides. And I think it has a nice look to it. And then keep right on weaving. Pulling it tight inside. See how it's nice inside. And continue. Alrighty, if you have any little goobers or hairs, you can snip them off. And we've come to the other side where I had to wet my material. It was too dry at the end. So I wet it. Go in there. If your end gets all chewed up or hairy, you can take a little bit off. You have plenty of material. Now remember that taper. I'll bet you forgot all about the taper, the part under the rim that is skinny and it gets bigger. Well, your rim is covering that up. But it could look really funny because you have, it drops down further here, and that just isn't attractive. So I use my tool to go in here and make a little opening. Just not push through the rim, just that one top row, and make an opening so this is going to look level along here. It doesn't drop down and look silly. I'm going to show you what it would have looked like if I hadn't made an opening. It would have looked like this. It would be way down here, not level. So I'm going to pull this back out and use that opening so my basket is as nice as I can make it. This isn't a very big space, so you can go in between or not if you want to. I'm not going to go in that space because it's very small. And it's on I have to make an opening, so I'm going to do it this way. We're done. We have a lot left, which is a nice thing. So now what to do? Let's trim this off. What to do with this end? I like to make an opening here and feed it down in between. Just tuck it. If I have to use my scissors to go get it, I do. Now pull it through and trim it. And it's hidden. I think that makes a nice looking basket. And there you have it. The back of the basket. The front of the basket. Your first 1 quart berry picking square to round basket.